everybody, welcome to Beverly's Kitchen. My name is Beverly Lucas and today I'm going to make for you spicy shrimp and grits. It is one of the recipes that I use from my very own cookbook for the love of cooking. It is actually the first recipe, and it's the first recipe because so many people request my shrimp and grits. So today I'm gonna let you into my kitchen so you can see the secrets of making shrimp and grits. So we have our ingredients here. I have some bell pepper. Bell pepper actually is not in the recipe, and sometimes when I cook, I just use what I have. So I had an extra pepper, a half a pepper. I have some green onions or scallions. I have some white onions chopped. I have some minced garlic. We have some chopped parsley. And we also have some spicy diced tomatoes. Andouille sausage sliced. And then the star of the show, let me tell you, these shrimp are the star. We have some shrimp. These are Louisiana shrimp here. And then here we have shrimp that's called lobster shrimp. So you may say, why is it called lobster shrimp? Let me show you this. Look at the size of that shrimp. Look at that. So sometimes when I make a shrimp dish, I like to use different types of shrimps from different waters, different sizes, to give the dish a little bit more texture. So let's move on with some of our other ingredients. We have some Worcestershire sauce. We have some sugar. Now, I put sugar in everything that I cook. I get that from my mother. I used to watch her in the kitchen. She didn't let us in the kitchen, but I was always watching. So we have a little bit of sugar. We have some hot pepper flakes. We have another one of my favorites. If you have seafood, if you eat seafood, if you prepare seafood, you gotta have some Old Bay. Now, I'm in Maryland, and you cannot be a Marylander without having the Old Bay. We have some flour, just a little bit. And another one of the secrets to a lot of things that I cook is bouillon cubes, chicken bouillon cubes. Every once in a while, I like the can of chicken broth, but this just adds more flavor. We have some clam juice, and then we have some diced Roma tomatoes, and these will be the finishing touch of the dish. So let's get started. So here we're gonna make some grits. The grits that I use from when I was little is Quaker grits. Do not get the 5-minute grits. You need to have the old-fashioned grits. Another secret, instead of using water, I use heavy whipping cream. So we are going to, if we can get it open. Okay, so that's my heavy whipping cream. We're going to measure out 2 cups of cream. Now the package would say 2 cups of water, but we're doing 2 cups of cream. And it is heavy, and it does cook well. You have to watch it so that it doesn't boil over, so you want to make sure that your pan is large enough. I'm going to put this on medium. To that 2 cups, we're going to add 1 cup of grits once it starts boiling. So we're going to set that right there. That is our grits. And then we're going to put in 2 bouillon cubes and a whole half a stick of butter. Land O'Lakes. I only use Land O'Lakes. My mother only used Land O'Lakes. It is the best butter. I like to clean as I cook, so we're gonna do that. Now, once this starts boiling, I'm gonna show you the secret to having smooth grits so that they are not lumpy. So while we're waiting for that to boil, we're gonna start on the mixture for the shrimp and grits. So what we're going to do, I have my pot on medium. I'm going to put in the sausage. And we're going to let the sausage cook on medium, not too high, because we want to render all the fat, because the fat from the sausage is going to add flavor. To our mixture. Okay, so we have our heavy cream here that was boiling, and as you can see, you have to really watch it because it will boil over. Now, I have the grits. Now, the secret to smooth grits is when you have to whisk it into the mixture. So see how here I'm just whisking? And it doesn't seem like a lot of grits, it's only a cup, but it's going to yield 2 cups. So then what we want to do is we want to make sure we put it on low and cover it up. Now here's the secret. I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes, and every 5 minutes I'm going to whisk those grits. So here we have our sausage cooking, and it's cooking great. And I am going to flip it over. You can use your fork, you can use tongues, you can, however, whatever works best for you. And I'm going to turn this down just a little bit, because if you have it too high, then you won't get any of the fat out, and that adds to the sauce. Okay, it smells delicious already. There you go. So we're going to let those cook for just a few more minutes. And the thing about the sausage is it's already cooked. So we're really just browning it. When you buy it, it's already cooked. So we're going to get ready for our next ingredient. So if I look at my directions, it tells me to cook the sausage on both sides until brown. And then in the same pan, we're going to add the butter and the onions, and we're going to saute. So here we have half a stick of butter, and our onions, we're going to put it all in the same pot, and we're going to cook those until it is tender. We're also going to add our green pepper. And we're just going to let the butter melt, and we're going to let that simmer. For a few minutes. We're going to keep checking on those grits, because all things can happen with grits. I set the timer for 5 minutes, and it's about to go off. And so if you have a timer, if you don't have a timer on your stove, get yourself just a little timer. Because I cook so much and I cook so many things, having this timer is just like key for me. So I really, really use it, and I follow it. Okay, so now the timer's gone off, so we're gonna turn it off, and we're gonna take a look at our grits, and we're just gonna slowly, with our whisk, you see how it lumps up, but once it gets the whisk, it calms down. So calm that down. Put the top back on, and we're gonna go set the timer again for another 5 minutes. And you can see here, I have my sausage and onions and bell peppers, and we are going to continue with the sauce. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add some flour to our mixture. Well, before flour, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put I'm going to just use a little bit of salt on the onions and peppers. Now the next thing we're going to add is our minced garlic. The one thing about garlic is you do not want to let it cook too long. You do not want it to burn, because when it burns, it's bitter. And nobody wants bitter food. So we're going to put our garlic in there, and we're only going to let it cook for maybe a minute. I love the smell of fresh garlic. I love it. Okay, now we're gonna make kind of like our sauce. Not kind of like, we're gonna make our sauce. So I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of flour. And we're gonna let the flour cook out. We have to let it cook out or else you will be able to taste the flour. And we really just need it as a thickening agent. So we're just gonna let that cook out for a minute, and then we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients. This smells so good. Okay. So we're gonna see what else we have over here. Stir in our flour, cook for 2 minutes, add the diced tomatoes. I'm gonna go with my recipe. I'm gonna go in the direction that my recipe tells me to go in. Although if I was just making this without the recipe, you know, I just put it together the way I see it. So we put in the tomatoes. We have a 1/2 cup of clam juice. And sometimes I don't use clam juice. Sometimes what I do when I'm making the shrimp and grits is after I peel the shrimp, I take the shells and I cook them in some water until they turn pink, and I use that. But for today we have clam juice. We have a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. We have some sugar because we put sugar in everything. We have some hot pepper flakes, our Old Bay, and our 2 bouillon cubes. And what we're going to do is we're just going to let this cook out and let it simmer. And I do have some additional ingredients that I'm going to try out today to put in. And that is, we're going to put in a bay leaf as it simmers, and some dried thyme. Thyme is like my favorite, and I really like fresh thyme, but for this we're just going to use a little dried thyme. And we're just going to let it simmer, and all the flavors will melt together, and it will be layers and layers of flavor. That's how we like to do it. We have 24 seconds for the next stirring of our grits, and we're going to do that. Shrimp and grits is made different ways across the country. You know, you go to New Orleans, you have it one way. You come to Maryland, you have it another way. So I kind of just came up with my own recipe, my own taste, and the people love it. So we just keep on making it. There's our timer. You can see the grits are getting thick. You can see the butter on the top. And we'll just whisk it. So it's already been 10 minutes. Now, depending on how thick you want your grits, if you like thin grits, then you would add more cream, or you could add water. But this comes out to the perfect consistency for me. And I'm gonna set the timer again for 5 minutes. Okay, the timer is going off. So we're gonna pause to take care of those. You should see these grits with all that butter. Now you'll see how we finish them off in the end. Those are going to be great. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to taste this mixture. That's one thing about cooking. As you go along, you get to certain points, you need to pause. That is very spicy. that is very spicy. So in order to cut down some of the spice, I'm just gonna add, it's good, but it's spicy. I'm just gonna add a little bit of sugar. And the sauce is very, very thick. So sometimes it depends on the brand of tomatoes that you use. So what I'm finding out about these tomatoes for this brand is that it's very, very spicy, and it didn't have a lot of juice. Like sometimes you can buy diced tomatoes and it has a lot of tomato juice. This one did not. So what I'm gonna do to compensate for that is I'm just gonna add about 1/4 cup of water just to thin it out just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to taste it again. And let's see. That is good. That is really, really good. So we're gonna let it cook down for about another 5 minutes before we add the shrimp. We're doing good. We're doing really good. We're doing good. Okay, so our mixture has been cooking. We added a little sugar because it was very, very spicy. And now it is time to put in the star of the show, which is these lobster shrimp. Now, shrimp typically take 3 to 5 minutes to cook. These will take 3 to 5 minutes. These here is probably going to take about 10 minutes. So we're gonna put them in first. Look at the size. This is ridiculous. Look at the size of that shrimp. But it's gonna make for a beautiful presentation. So when cooking, I always use the 4 Ps. That you wanna make sure you plan out all your ingredients, which is what I did. You wanna have patience. You wanna make sure that you're prepared. And then you want to focus on the presentation. And if you get my cookbook, I write a little bit about those 4 Ps. So we're gonna cover this up and we're gonna give it, I'm gonna check it in 5 minutes. So you know, here I go with the timer. Because the one thing that you don't wanna do is you don't wanna overcook your shrimp or else it'll taste rubbery. So we just want it to turn pink. So I'm gonna give it 5 minutes and then I'm going to add these shrimp. And then once you put the shrimp in, you have your mixture, you tasted your mixture, you fine-tuned it. You could add a little more salt, a little more sugar, you can add thyme, bay leaf, you just begin to explore what tastes good to you. And speaking of, I didn't put any pepper in here, so I'm gonna do that now. Some fresh ground pepper, because we did put salt in there. So we're gonna do that. And then the other thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna use a little more Old Bay on the shrimp only. I'm gonna put some here, and let me just go like this, and we're going to just cover it just to give it a little taste. Okay. 5 minutes and we'll add the shrimp. All right, so it's been 5 minutes, and if we look at our shrimp, we can see how beautiful they are, and they have about 5 more minutes. So at this time, I'm gonna add the Louisiana shrimp. We're just gonna put them in there, and we're gonna let them cook together, and then the juice from the shrimp adds to the sauce mixture, and we're gonna let it cook. Okay, so our sauce is complete. Look at that. The shrimp are cooked perfectly. And now we're just going to add the finishing touches. We have about 1/4 cup, well, that's more than 1/4 cup, of parsley. I used to think parsley was just for presentation, but it really does it gives a bright bite to the dish. Brightness and taste. and in texture. And now we are going to pour our mixture into our bowl. I don't want it to splash, but look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. You know, with me, if you follow me, you know that I'm all about the presentation. We can take that bay leaf out. And this is our finished product. And what I will do is I take a fork, and in presenting, I like to make sure that you can see all the ingredients. So you can see the sausage, the peppers, the onions, the tomatoes. Oh my gosh. You see, I want to dig in, but you know, we can't do that. We have to wait. We wait for our grits to get done, and we will serve it up. Okay, so the grits are complete. We're just gonna pour them. Does that look delicious or what? See how they just slide right out the pot. We're gonna put our final touches. We're gonna add, this is about a half a cup of cheddar cheese. You can add it while it's still in the pot. But again, for me, it's all about presentation. I like the way that looks. And then lastly, we have our green onions that we are just going to sprinkle on top. All right. Then for the final touch, we're going to add some of those Roma tomatoes. Again, to give it some freshness, because those were not cooked. And there you have it. Spicy shrimp and cheddar grits. I'm so excited. Look at this beautiful dish. Spicy shrimp and grits. It is absolutely delicious. Hands down, I can cook, okay? But you can cook too. The recipe is in my cookbook, For the Love of Cooking. There are so many other wonderful recipes in this book. You can get this book by going to fortheloveofcooking.biz. You can order it right online. I will sign it and I will ship it out to you. This is me, Beverly Lucas. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for going on the journey of cooking a fabulous dish. I look forward to seeing you next time. For the Love of Cooking.